All right, so welcome to the UNE napping pit. You can see there's lots of flakes and stuff left around from previous napping with students of Stone Tools unit and various other ARPA units. Internal students come out and we nap over the sand because the flakes, when they land in the sand, they're less likely to bounce, and it's just a safety thing. You can see there's a lot of flakes and stuff exposed at the moment. The pit was left uncovered for about a week, and the wind whipped through and created this deflationary surface of all the flakes that were higher up in the sand have now deflated down to this one level. What I'm going to do today is do a bit of revision on how flakes are made, the basic aspects that you need to know to strike off flakes in a consistent manner, and you get really nice long cutting edges if you do it properly. Now, to make stone tools, it's just not a matter of grabbing any old rock you see and bashing away at it. You won't get any flakes to come off, okay? What you have to do in order to make nice flakes is you have to find surfaces on the stone that are less than 90 degrees, okay? You have to find two faces on the stone that are acute, that are less than 90 degrees, all right? Because if you find one that's more than 90 degrees, like for instance, if I was trying to hit it here, that's more than 90 degrees between those two surfaces, hammerstone will just bounce off. But if you find a surface that's less than 90 degrees, like right here, and you strike behind that surface, you can get a flake to come off. All right? Like that. So this is a flake, this piece that I just struck off. All right? We call this the platform. That's the surface that I struck. You can see how that fits back onto the core, which is the piece that the flake was knocked off of. And it preserves between the platform surface and the outer surface of the core. That's that less than 90 degree angle. We call that the exterior platform angle on the flake. And you can see a student had cracked, had smashed away at this, attempting to make flakes, not very successfully, for quite a long time. And in a way, that's a good example of showing you just that this is not straightforward. I was able to knock the flake off that first time because I've done this a lot and I can recognize the proper angles. This particular student who was trying on this one didn't do a very good job. All right, and that's pretty typical for people who are just learning. But in the context of human evolution, that's pretty significant because it's telling us that there's a lot of cognitive ability implied by the ability to strike off really nice flakes from a piece of stone. Here's another good example of a student trying to knock flakes off and not doing a very good job. You can see it's all bashed and battered on there. Not a very nice core. All right. What I'm going to do and what we're going to do with the internal students today is go through and just repeatedly make nice flakes. I'm going to take these guys through one at a time and show them what to look for on the pieces of stone that we're going to be flaking. Now, this piece of stone that I've got here is from North America. It's extremely high quality chert, and it's ideal for making stone tools. Now, I'll just reiterate, a lot of this is probably revision from the previous video that's online at the moment. But one of the things we look for in stone to make good tools out of is it has to have no grain in it whatsoever. It can't have any grain, it can't have any serious flaws or anything of that nature, because if you were to try to strike a flake from a piece of stone that has a lot of grain, it's going to fracture along the grain. That's why we want stone that doesn't have any grain, so that we can force the fracture to go where we want. This piece of stone, and I'll put the details up on the Moodle site, you can actually order this from a guy in Rockhampton. It's imported from the States, specifically for people to make stone tools. All right. This is a giant flake. You can see the platform there. The guy in the States who knocked this off the boulder, you can see they had previous flakes knocked off the boulder, and then they struck this one down this ridge of high mass, because that's the other attribute you have to have on the core. When you strike the edge, you have to strike behind a ridge or a lump on the face of the stone. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and start making flakes here. You can see that's my really nice platform angle. That's the acute angle. which happens really easily on these large flakes. They automatically have a nice platform angle around the entire periphery. And you can see that flake I struck off has an incredibly sharp edge. I'm just going to go through and knock off a few flakes and make a core. Now, the way that I'm doing this is pretty typical for our own species, modern humans. I'm going to make a single platform core out of this really nice material. Right now I'm just going to trim off some of these thin bits. That one's split down the middle. That happens sometimes, called a serrette fracture. If anybody gets intrigued by this, I teach a whole unit on stone tools, and we make a lot of flakes at the intensive school. And you learn how to analyze and reconstruct the way that tools are made, the way that archaeologists can look at the way that tools are made. Okay, so I'm going to trim off some of the sharpness. Now, if you think about this, I've just gone around the perimeter of this stone one time, and you can see down there I've got a lot of potential tools, lots of flakes. Now, in later prehistory, people would go across the landscape with one of these cores in their toolkit, and when they needed a cutting tool, they would just strike it off then and there. All right, we find a lot of these cores in the archaeological record, and of course we find a lot of the flakes that were knocked off. And this is a flake tool that was used at the last tutorial by the internal students to cut meat from a piece of bone, and they tell me that the stone tools worked incredibly well. All right, so now I've gone around once. I'm going to go around again, knock off another series of flakes. Getting quite a nice pile of knives in front of me here. I'm going to make these a little bit thicker and bigger. You can see that it's not really a strength thing. I'm not hitting the stone especially hard. It's more getting the angles correct. Stinging my fingers a little bit. I'm catching it with my fingers, so it is a little bit stingy. But you can see I've now gone around twice. Look at all those flakes. Okay, every one of those is a potential tool. And we can fit those back together if you think about it. I've gone around twice now, but all those flakes would fit back either onto a scar on the core. You can see all those flake scars around the perimeter, or they can fit back together because each of the scars overlaps a little bit. I'm going to trim off the sharpness again. Now, our earliest ancestors didn't work like this really. They were a bit more haphazard in the strategy that they used to reduce stone into tools. What I'm demonstrating here is a bit more later in prehistory that we start seeing cores like this, possibly made by Homo erectus, possibly as early as that. Definitely by the time that our earliest ancestors came on the scene, people were making quite nice cores like this. All right, and this would look right in context here in Australia, because this is pretty typical for the way that Aboriginal people would make stone tools. Because this edge on there, as you can imagine, that's really good for cutting and scraping, possibly chopping. And then it serves as sort of a multi-purpose object, because then I can go through when I need it. Just killed something, need to cut it up. There we go, really sharp edge on there. So now I'm going to go through, take off the next series around the perimeter. When we go out on stone quarries in Australia, other parts of the world, a lot of times what we find is the evidence for making these giant flakes like what I started out with. And all the debris from that process is left behind at the quarry. And then we move out across the landscape and we find evidence for the process that I'm demonstrating right now. Okay? So now our core's getting quite small. It's a single platform core. What I'm going to do is just trim up the edge a little bit and call it good. So I've gone around that, what was that, 3 times? 3 times, and you can see I've got a whole huge pile of knives in front of me. Now, of course, people in the past wouldn't have done that all at once. Who knows how long it would take to use up this many knives, but you could see a tool like this could last for potentially weeks or months even, just going around knocking off these knives as they're needed, using them till they're worn out, and then throwing them away. Another thing that can be done, and we see this in the earliest archaeological record, is a lot of times these flakes might themselves be modified. Say that edge gets full of grease or meat or hair, you can retrim it by a process we call flake retouching. You can trim it and get that edge reshaped, and then we have what's called a retouched flake. You can see all the flake scars I just knocked off. It's a much blunter edge in a sense. It's not quite as sharp as the fresh struck edge, but it's also a much more durable edge. If you're doing woodworking or scraping, things of that nature, a retouched flake works really well for that. And of course, depending on how big a tool you want, you know, the flakes that come off from this flake in the retouching process also have incredibly sharp edges. So you can see that stone technology can be quite efficient in terms of the number of tools that you can get from a relatively small piece of stone. Okay, so that's simple flake making using a hammerstone. Now, if we can, do you want to start? Go grab one of those white pieces of stone and come on around, and I will talk you through the process of making a flake. Look at all those beautiful knives. Okay, so come over here. All right, crouch down. Now, what I want you to do, I'm looking at this piece of stone, looking around the perimeter, looking for these acute angles. And I'm just going to tell you where I want you to hit it. Okay, so I'm going around. I'm going to have you hit it right about here because that's a nice acute angle. It's not real thick, but you've still got a lump on that side of the stone to knock the flake off of.
I have to hit it like that?
Yep, so hit it in from the edge right about there. Actually, can you toss over that one rather than this one? We're using copper for these students. No, hold it. Yeah, hold it like that. Beautiful. Okay, so what you've got, okay, that's your platform surface there. Okay, we call that the ventral surface of the flake, and then you've got a really nice cutting edge around the perimeter. All right, so now hit it right about here. Okay, now what you're going to have to do is it's a glancing blow. So you want to don't have your core too flat. You want to have it like that, and then still swing straight down through it. There you go. Beauty. Look at that. Okay, again, that's the platform. Sharp edge all the way around. All right, so that's a good one. So the next step is to turn it again and hit it about in here, again, behind this lump, about the same angle that you were before. You keep going around the perimeter like that. You could hit it again in near the same spot, but it's a hollow. You know, that's the negative flake scar from this flake coming off has left a hollow. You don't want to strike behind the hollow, you want to strike behind the mass. So that's why you have to rotate it around. I would hit it right about there. Can you back up a little bit so the flakes don't land in those? There you go.
So angled down or?
No, you're good. Just glancing blow about like that. You're probably hitting it harder than you really need to, but you're getting good results. So there you go. It's another beautiful flake. Nice sharp cutting edge all the way around. All right, so you can retire and keep bashing away. Who's next? Grab a piece of stone. There's a couple more over by the box. Okay, so let's have a look. That's a little bit low and thin out there. I'm going to have you hit it right about here. Okay, so rotate it around. Beautiful, beautiful. Look at that. Really nice, sharp cutting edge. Again, that's the platform of the flake, and it fits right back onto the scar on the core. Okay. So come around, probably hit it right about there. Little one, but still, I mean, it's really good cutting edge. That's getting a bit difficult there because that angle isn't quite right. So I'm going to rotate it around, have you hit it right about there. Rotate it down, more of a glancing blow.
Surprisingly sharp when they're first cut.
They're brutally sharp. That one's being a bit stubborn. Actually, if you look, your copper's leaving smears. You're actually hitting it clear up there. That's another aspect of stoneworking, is aiming, okay? It doesn't sound like it would be very difficult to aim, but it quite often can be. So let's turn it over. Let's try hitting it right about there. There you go.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So that's a beauty. Look at that one. This stone is outrageously good quality, by the way. We're going to do something a little bit different now. Okay, you've struck off of that face, straight down. You took that flake off. What we're going to do now, instead of taking one off the same surface, we're going to rotate it, and you're going to hit it right there on the scar that was created by the removal of this flake.
Is it there?
Right there, yep. Rotate it down a little bit. Try it again. It's not going.
It's not doing it for me. I'm hitting it. I feel like I'm hitting it really hard too.
It should go. Here, try rotating it right there now. There you go.
I caught it.
He caught it. See now what that's done, you can see the flake that came off. Pretty deep what we call bulb of percussion. And those are the sorts of things we can look at to look at like experience and skill. That one wasn't particularly.
Is that cone that you talked about? Is
that
what that bulb is?
Yeah, it's the bulb is the very initiation point. You get the very top of what's called the Hertzian cone, and then it turns into a different type of propagation after that. You can see your aiming was off. You look how far up there you're hitting. Yeah. That's another interesting thing with copper, is we can usually see where all the previous blows were. So that was an issue. And that's something, of course, our early hominin ancestors had to deal with as well, accurate aiming. But the thing I wanted to show now is, remember, this was the first flake that came off, okay? And then you struck this one off from the scar that was left by the first flake. So what that does is it creates what we call a bifacial edge. It's got flakes to both sides, all right? And that's a hallmark of things like hand axes and things. So, all right, who's next? You can keep bashing away. Yep. Cool. Ooh, this is a pretty piece.
Try to like stay on the side.
I think I'll have you do what Eleanor did and start up here at the thicker end. So, you're right-handed?
I'm left-handed. But
Oh, you're left-handed. Do you want to...
I'm more comfortable hitting them with my right hand.
Are you sure?
Generally. Yeah.
Okay. So hold this more like that. And what I want you to do is kind of hold it and rotate it around.
And just
You're going to hit it, yeah, not in the middle, right near the edge.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That was pretty good. Where'd the flake go? Is that it?
I think that's one of them.
Yeah, we'll try again. I'm rotating it slightly this way, so try hitting it right about there. That was good. It came off in several pieces, probably because it was hit a little bit further in from the edge than it needed to be. And it split when it came off in one of those serrette fractures. Okay? So what I'm going to have you do next is hit it right about here.
Okay. The center-ish?
Yep, that's good. About like that. That was good. Nice broad flake. Extremely sharp cutting edge all the way around. Again, platform, negative flake scar on the core. Okay, so have another go right about there. Good one. Making it look easy. Look at that. That's a good one. And have another one out here, and we'll knock off that end.
Whoop, that one shattered.
That one broke in several pieces. But you can see now this core, you got all those flake scars on there, so now you can go make some more flakes.
Should we want to go first?
Cool. All right, another good one. Oh, this is a good thick one. Let's see, this one, it's not a flake, it's actually already had scars created on both faces. Makes the angles a little bit trickier, but we should be good. So pop it right about there. A little bit closer to the edge and up on this one. Got a little bit off. Try it again. That was good. Yep, that was a good one. Nice thin flake. Where were we working? Right there. So good flake came off. Again, see the sharp edge all the way around. So I would come out here now and pop it right about there. Beauty.
Whichever one it was.
Was it that one? No, it wasn't that one.
I think it might have shattered a couple of different pieces.
Yeah, it's possible. Here, we'll erase the board here so it's easier to see. Okay. That's good. Why don't you come back close to where you were before? Beauty. Beauty. Yeah, look at that. Good edge all the way around. Fantastic. So again, there you go. Flake and core. All right, have at.
It's kind of like relaxing, like something about the noise.
Well, actually, that's
Yeah.
there's two things I can comment on there. There is a book out there on music where the guy has suggested the origin of music is a bunch of people sitting around flaking
Doing it,
stone,
like, making beats
and they can
stuff.
rhythm starts with rhythm and all that. So here's another good spot right there. Got a beautiful angle right there. This is going to be outrageously beautiful piece of stone. This one.
There.
Yep, I'd rotate it down a little bit. Nice. It split when it came off, but that's not bad. Rotate it around and try it right about there now. Good one. Good one. Look at the edge on that. Fantastic. So again, rotate it around and hit it right about there. Look at that. Making it look easy. Okay, so I'd come back and hit it more towards the middle again. That was a little bit too close to the edge, in from the edge, and a little bit more of a glancing blow. Yep, split a bit when it came off, but rotate it back now this way. Hit it there, more of a glancing blow. Beautiful, that's your best one yet. Look at that. Choice. There's the platform, and then the scar on the core. Okay?
Okay.
Cool.
These dogs are fitting surprisingly well.
All right, so there you go. Got a bunch of stone workers going here.
Massive from them. My finger's just there. Except for my pinky, which is really small.
All right, well, thanks you guys. I'm going to turn off the camera now. I hope that was insightful, and I'll put details up on the Moodle site about how you can order stone from that guy and have a go at this yourself. Thanks.